Alright. How the fuck do you say this?
Sisyphean,
Sisyphean.
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 Sisyphean.
Sisyphean. Alright. I think I got it. Welcome, one and all. Welcome to all of the longtime viewers. Welcome as well to anybody who might be new. As you can see, the theme for today is all about new beginnings. So, I started my YouTube channel back in early 2020, and at the time, I really only had one thing that I wanted to do. I wanted to do a completionist playthrough of a really old video game called Might and Magic 6. I ended up doing that playthrough and had a lot of fun, and I thought I did a pretty good job on it as well. But at the time, I thought this was going to be one and done, right? This is the only game I'm going to do. I'll get it out of my system, and then, maybe maybe four people are going to watch it, and then, we'll all just move on with our lives. But after I was finished with it, I realized that I really enjoyed doing it. And, you know, I was like, okay, well, if I've done Might and Magic 6, I might as well do the rest of the Might and Magic series. And so I ended up doing that as well. I did Might and Magic 7, Might and Magic 8, even the much maligned Might and Magic 9. And then I was like, well, might as well do other old games that I uh, played in the past. So, I did the Warlords Battlecry series. And at that point, I was like, okay, I really enjoy playing video games, doing video game playthroughs, and sharing my joy with people, my joys and my occasional frustrations. And so eventually I started doing a few newer games as well, mainly indie games, A couple of examples are like Children of Morta, then there's Nobody Saves the World, and then I branched out a little bit even more. I did some other like not really video games, but puzzle activities. I did a really fun series where I recorded myself hitting a streak of 1,000 on the New York Times crossword puzzle. And then I started an occasional series doing the connections puzzle, also on the New York Times. All well and good. But there was one thing that I did on my channel that really, truly changed everything. What is that one thing, you might wonder? Well, that one thing was when I started my Cyrilum Ultimate playthrough. I'd already been playing the game for a while before I started this playthrough, but this game grabbed me like no other. It's not just that it was a good game, it's that it taught me something about myself and about the kinds of things that I enjoy. Specifically, it was a game that was good on its own merit, right? You can just get hours of enjoyment just exploring the game mechanics. There's a lot of depth. But alongside that, the game also had tons of collectibles. I'm the kind of guy that just loves doing completionist playthroughs, but the it's not the end goal of hitting 100% that's necessarily the most fun thing about that, although that is satisfying. But to me, the most fun thing is the slow accumulation, not even of things that like make you stronger in the game necessarily, but just things that you're collecting, like slowly amassing a collection of something. That that I realized brings me just profound joy. And Cerulean Ultimate had so much to collect. Um, I think the biggest example is probably cards, right? It takes a long while to collect them all, but it just every single time you find one of them, it just feels really good. It just feels really good. So I've been playing the game for a while. The playlist is now over 500 videos. There's a good chance it's going to be more than 1,000 by the time that I'm done. But I have completed most of the game, and even though there's an update coming out, um, and even though there's going to be new content being added, it's not going to be an entire game's worth of content, right? So, pre 2.0 patch, I've got 94% of the game done. Most of what remains is grindy stuff that's, you don't show all of that on screen. And even if we're extremely generous and saying that the 2.0 patch will add stuff that is the equivalent of 25% of the original game, that's still at most a few hundred more episodes worth of content. So in the back of my mind, the thought was, well, where do I go from where do I go from here, right? After Cerulean Ultimate. Is this the point where I just pack it up and be like, okay, boys, we had a good run. Let's shut down the channel, or do I go for something else? And I think you know where this is going, but I it's funny because I think there's a part of me that always knew I was gonna do it, but I was just hesitant because it's such a big commitment. So let me lead into it with this. So one thing that grabbed me about Cerulean Ultimate was the way the game was described. Um, I think I'm trying to remember the exact phrasing, but on the Steam store page, the developers described it as sort of a cross between Pokemon and Path of Exile. And immediately that grabbed me because Path of Exile is an excellent, excellent game. And as this series went on, and against all odds, showed signs of maybe one day actually coming to an end, my thoughts turned back to Path of Exile. And the thought was, why don't I do something similar in Path of Exile to what I'm doing in Cerulean Ultimate? Some really huge, really ambitious project that's going to take multiple years that might never be finished. But that finishing it was never the point. The point was just something where you find a different, unpredictable little joy every time you go into it. And so, my friends, uh, let me be clear. Cerulean Ultimate is gonna continue until I hit 100%. But parallel to that, I think it is time to start on a new project, and to that end, I can now unveil what that project is. It is the Path of Exile treasure hunt. As you can see, this is the this is the thumbnail that I've come up with for episode one. I thought it did a pretty good job on it. Now I'll go into more detail about what the specific goals are for this series in the video for like the actual pilot episode, you can say. Long story short, the goal is going to be to try and collect as many unique items as possible. Now, it's not going to be easy. In fact, it's going to be very, very difficult. But in the immortal words of JFK, I do this not because it's easy, but because it's hard. That is what draws me to things like this. Cerulean Ultimate gave me a taste for it, and I think Path of Exile is gonna be the ultimate expression for this new passion that I've acquired. Now, you may have noticed that it's not just that I'm starting a new series, it's also that I'm, well, I guess you could call it rebranding the channel, but really rebranding implies that there was a brand to begin with. The truth is, because when I initially started my YouTube channel, I thought it was going to be one and done. I didn't even bother coming up with a channel name. And then because I'm just very lazy and prone to inertia, I just never bothered coming up with a channel name. And for a long time it was just the default name that it fills in, which was my actual name. So yeah, I just let it stay like that for years. But now I think it's time to, well, you've already seen what the channel name is, but let me talk to you about why I chose that as a name. And specifically, it was when I was thinking about what it would feel like to do this, my thoughts turned to the Greek myth of Sisyphus, the guy who gets cursed by the gods, and his punishment is that he has to unceasingly roll a boulder up a hill. So he's engaging in this labor. There's like visually it seems like there's going to be an endpoint because you can see the hill and there's a top to it, but as soon as he gets to the top, the boulder rolls all the way back down, and then he's got to start the whole thing over. And I was thinking like that, and I was like, man, like, for this guy, this was a curse from the gods, but for me, the way I play video games, I do this shit just on the regular. I'm just always going for that 100%, always going for games which have tons of things to collect. I'm just, there has never been a point in time in the past 5 years where I haven't been doing what this poor guy's been doing. Except for me, it wasn't a curse. I just I just do it because I find it fun. And so after a bit of workshopping, I went to ChatGPT. I was like, "Can you come up with some graphic or channel artwork?" And of course, uh, it came up with complete trash. So I was like, "I can draw something better than that." And after about, I don't know, like 30 minutes or so, came up with this. I thought it came out pretty well. Pretty minimalist design, not too busy, Pretty pretty happy with how that came out. Really, really happy with how that came out. Um, so yeah, that's the origin story, I guess, of Sisyphus Reborn. A couple things I'll mention is I thought about, instead of Path of Exile, doing Diablo 2, like doing it in Diablo 2 instead, like Diablo 2 Holy Grail, finding all the uniques. But I opted not to for a couple of reasons. Number one, I've already watched other people do Holy Grails, right? Notably, one of my favorite YouTubers, Mr. Llama SC. I think he's mainly, well, to call him mainly a speedrunner, I think would be underselling him. He's just an all-round, just a Diablo 2 veteran. Anything about the game, he can probably do. But I watched his Holy Grail and I was like, I can't watch somebody else do a Holy Grail and then do one of my own. That's just too much Diablo 2 for one lifetime. And the other reason I didn't want to do Diablo 2 specifically was because, well, it's because there aren't that many uniques in Diablo 2, right? You can get all of them, meaning by the end of it, everybody's holy grail will look roughly the same, right? You'll have found all the same items. Like there will be some slight differences, right? Depending on what variations of items you find, right? So when I was playing Diablo 2 Resurrected, I absolutely adored the ethereal Titan's Revenge, right? You can find it in normal or you can find it ethereal. The dream is to find it ethereal as well. I also I think this is actually my favorite drop out of all my time playing the Diablo 2 remake. This perfect roll Herald of Zakarum. Now, perfect roll, the difference between a perfect roll or even a like a worst possible roll, assuming it's not ethereal, of course, for Herald of Zakarum, doesn't really make that much of a difference. It's just like a trophy item that this could not possibly have rolled with better stats, right? So you can have individual little highlights like this, but in the end, everybody will still have all the same uniques. Actually, before I move on, there's something I want to talk about, right? So, if you're the kind of person who, instead of saying the full name, you shorten it to Hawes, right? In the Herald of Zakarum, then you're not welcome here, right? You can see yourselves out. I will not tolerate people disrespecting this item, right? The Herald of Zakarum is the best shield in the game. When you're talking about it, you will say the whole thing, put some respect on its name, right? And don't even get me started on people who, when they're talking about Harlequin Crest, they just call it Shaco. That's not even. Okay, sorry about that. I just get really heated about this sometimes. But yeah, that's why. Long story short, that's why I'm opting to do Path of Exile instead of Diablo 2, just because I think it's going to be a different experience. And just to drive it home, this is the number of unique items in Path of Exile at as of right now. 1,337, which honestly is a pretty good number. They could leave it at that, but I wouldn't rule out them adding in more stuff. Um, but even this amount of items, I don't think you're gonna have like if multiple people are trying to do their own version of what I'm gonna do in this series, even 10 years down the line, I don't think anybody's actually finding all of them themselves, right? Now, I'm not going to rule out playing with friends and taking items from friends, but in terms of what you're finding yourself, everybody's journey is going to be very, very, very different compared to Diablo 2, where one person can, just find everything by themselves. So that's how my rationale, that's how my thinking is for why I'm gonna why I'm gonna be doing what I'm doing in this way. To close off and go back to the thumbnail that I put up earlier, you'll notice um, there's a question on the right. It's a rhetorical question, obviously. The question is, can he do it? Well, it depends on what you mean by it. If by it do you mean, can I, playing alone, find every single unique item in Path of Exile? The answer is no, not in one human lifetime. Right? So that's a hard no to that. But if the question is, can we just amass a hoard of treasure that is worthy of awe and reverence, then that, I think, is a bit more doable. In a way, it's even more daunting because it's going to be like you're setting your own goals for what, you know, does or doesn't count, which Often when I play video games, I just rely on, oh, like what are the Steam achievements, what are the in-game achievements. But if you're entirely just setting it out for yourself, makes it exciting, but also a little almost intimidating, but in a fun kind of way. So that's gonna be the mindset that I'm gonna take going into the series. One final thing I'll mention is that it's probably gonna be one episode a week. The reason is because I want to do a better job of editing the video, and also going forward, we're gonna have situations where you're probably gonna be playing for 6, 7, 8 hours to produce 40 minutes of content that's worthy of uploading, right? Once you've done all the quests, because I will do a full playthrough, just showcasing all the quests, all the dialogue and stuff. But eventually, once you're skipping all of that and you're just killing stuff and looking at drops, it will get to the point where, it'll be many, many hours of play to produce one episode of uh, upload worthy content. So, just getting into that rhythm early, one episode a week is, I think, going to be the sweet spot for a series like this. But you know what? We can adjust that going forward. So that's the plan. And in conclusion, I'll just say that I'm really excited about this. And I would love to have you along as I embark on this colossal, titanic, Herculean, and Sisyphean undertaking. And hope to see you then. And until then, take care.